But he's going to have to find a way of not being mean. Otherwise, he is going to totally destroy his relationship.
Well, right. And this brought up a conversation with the both of us being like, if your wife or your husband or the person you're in the relationship has gained like 40 pounds, like at what point do you say something and how do you even broach the subject? Like, I feel like the weight, because it's something that like someone has to really work on. Like this is a possible quick solution, not quick, but like you could literally go to a dermatologist and
possibly
get
improve it.
get
She
some
can't
good improvements.
reverse, but it doesn't sound like that's an issue. I mean, obviously we can't see photos, we don't know what the issue is.
No, of course not.
But
it's like the weight gain part where it's like that takes like possibly years to like reverse or change and like change your entire body. Like that's a lot of stuff. So like if someone you love, if your partner gains a lot of weight, whether because they have had kids, right? Like women have kids and they gain weight because that's normal. Or, just because they're stressed out, they work, they don't have time to work out, like it's exhausting for them to eat. Maybe they travel a lot. Like there's so many, their hormones, right? There's so many things that apply, especially to women, because our hormones are much more exaggerated a lot of the time. It's really tough. So how do you go about telling a woman about their weight? Like that is so terrifying.
Yeah, I think it's very, very difficult. On the one hand, it annoys me, but on the other hand, I do understand if you're finding your partner not physically attractive, whether, like I said before, whether it's mean or not, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And that problem will compound. The weight thing, I think the only way you can deal with it, the problem is when you have children, most people gain weight because
you're eating for two.
Yeah, and there are lots of some people don't, but some people
And you can't work out the same way, and there's so many things.
Yeah, but I felt, if I take my case, I felt very ill a lot of the time. So I was eating foods that I wouldn't normally eat because I just felt sick. I felt like I was nauseous all the time, like on a ship. For both my kids for about 6 months or so. And I could have taken medication, but I was worried about taking medication. And then, you retain fluid and then obviously you just have this weird pattern of eating because you're not sleeping and there could be many, many things.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, let's be real, when you are pregnant as a woman, it's the only fucking time in your life when you go, it, I'm going to have that piece of cake.
Right.
There's nothing. And so does it mean it gets worse and most women don't watch it? For sure. Because it's the only time in your life when you're not thinking about yourself and obsessing. And I think because it's become culturally so obsessive, there's a kind of but of course then you have a problem at the end of it, of course.
Yeah, of course. And then the husbands are like, well, what happened to my skinny little mini wife? And it's like, sorry, babe, I just had a child. I just grew a human inside of me.
Yeah, and it's a big problem. I mean, I have to say, my first child was born in the UK, and you might find this interesting because you have like lessons you can go to. Like you can have your child. We have universal healthcare, like in Canada, and you have kind of lessons on how the woman, and it's normally done by a charity. It's very low cost, but kind of have groups of people, and you're sort of taught what to expect from like the practicalities of a baby, and then they split the women and the men apart. And then they talk about relationship and they talk about sex.
Oh, wow.
So one of the things, and my husband remembers it very clearly, one of the things they said, and again, you think British, oh my God.
To just the men?
Yeah, I mean, they do it to the men and the women, but they talk separately. And one of the things was, and it's normally a female teacher. And one of the things she said to the men, and it's normally their groups of 5, 6 men, the groups of 5, 6 couples, sorry, was, be very careful to make sure you show your wife after she's had a baby that you're still interested in her, that you still find her attractive. Like, don't just shut down as a couple and shut down as a man and woman. Make sure that you try. Obviously, having sex can be hard for practical reasons because you can hurt. You had a cesarean in your stomach. Your vagina can be cut open. It's really lovely, but and you
what
just
happens when I have a baby, guys.
and
really
you're not
nice.
feeling it, and you feel pretty shit about yourself. But they had all these lessons to say, make sure you make your wife feel desired, even after having a baby. And, full point to my husband, he did that. And he, at no point ever in our marriage has he ever said anything to me about anything, neither have I to him. But he totally made me feel the opposite to most women. Like, he made me feel like he loves me and desires me, even though, God, I mean, I really did not look my best. But
and you're so hard on yourself, though. Like, I feel like it was probably better than you think it was.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. But he did a really, really good job.
Right.
And some men are really good at that.
Yeah.
And that can save your relationship.
Yeah.
But, then the woman in turn has to take on also, okay, well, this is what my husband likes about me. This is what, he's attracted to. And you kind of have to take that on in your head. You can't go, okay, well, we were talking about this earlier, if my husband likes long hair, go to the hairdresser and come back with short pixie cut. If you know he hates it, why would you do that? And I know a lot of women do things like that. They're just like, oh, fuck it. It's my body, my whatever. And I should make choice.
But then it's like, why don't you want your husband to be attracted to you?
But saying that is kind of almost traditional. And a lot of women rail against that. Like, I'm like, also the way women are dressed. Like, all of a sudden they sort of have kids and they start to look like, what the hell are you wearing?
Right.
Like, I understand you've gained some weight, so maybe you're not going to wear really tight clothes, but what are you wearing?
Right.
And make zero effort, never put any makeup on, I mean, obviously you have less time.
Yeah.
But you can do something.
Right.
And, how does the man, without seeming like a total asshole, broach that subject?
I mean, there's things that come to mind, and obviously I've not had kids, right?
Yes.
I have not been in this situation, and I have not been married. Yeah. So like I have very little thoughts on that, obviously, but as a woman who loves men and like,
do you?
I do. And I try to understand men from their point of view because how else are we going to do it?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. I think the first thing that men have to understand about women, and like you're saying, like they've taught in that class, it's like, just make sure that she feels good about herself, because if she doesn't feel good about her outer image, then she's not going to feel good about her inner image.
Yeah, it's over.
And
your
it's over.
Sex life is finished.
Yeah. And so I think if she's had kids, or if she doesn't have a lot of time, but you want her to look better and you want her to feel better, like, take the kids and give her a spa day. Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, be like, babe, like, I know, like, you've been wanting to get a haircut or whatever the fuck it is, and maybe it's something that you've noticed. Maybe you like her nails done. She hasn't got her nails done. Go get her, like, go get her to do it. Yeah. Right, exactly. But in a nice way, as in, like, let me go pay for your nails. Like, I'd love to, like, treat you to a mani-pedi. And of course the woman is going to appreciate that if you say it in a non, like, judgmental, bad way of being like, oh, babe, you're looking like shit lately. Well, maybe fucking no one is going to respond well to that. No. So if you make it a little bit more about her and less about you, she's going to take it a lot better.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of looking at it. I also think it's an interesting thing that women often criticize their men. They'll say, I hate your clothes, or you're fat, or do something about your hair, or whatever the hell it is, and be quite harsh.
Yeah.
But if that same man did that to them, I mean, they'd be cut at the knees. I mean, that would be the end of their everything.
I know, it is interesting. Strange. Like, why do we? And I'm sure I'm guilty of it with my ex, of being like too honest about like what I think he should be doing, or like, and probably not getting the response that I want because I'm not saying it in the better way, right? Like, but it's so, I don't know, because women nag. And we nag because we love in a really weird way. It's just a thing that women do for whatever reason. And sometimes with the nagging also comes the, I know best. This is what's going on. This is what's wrong with you. We're going to fix this. And women have an innate thing of wanting to fix men, whether that's her new boyfriend or her husband or whoever. Like, I just think that's something that women do because we feel like we know best. But if a man were to say something to us, we'd be like, you don't fucking know anything about my life. Right. Because maybe they don't. But also, it's men just have to be more careful.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Why are you assuming that you know about him, but he doesn't know about you? It's ridiculous. But we do that.
Yeah.
And I think it's not very fair. I mean, the point I think you've said is, I think, and I think I also said, is like you have to be kind. Be very kind, don't be cruel, and don't and I've seen this so many times, people being just cruel. I think what happens is something bothers you about your partner's appearance or their behavior, can not necessarily be appearance. It can be the behavior, like they've developed an annoying habit or a negative attitude or whatever it is. And it starts to annoy you and you do nothing about it. And it just keeps going and going and going and going until you're sort of literally 10 years down the line, or in this guy's case, the wrinkle guy, we'll call him, probably
50 years.
Yeah, exactly. However many years down the line, that you finally like lose your shit and you're going to say something awful.
Horrible.
And I think avoid that at all costs.
Yeah.
But I think the weight thing, I mean, I think you should ask yourself also, is that it? Is there something else? Is that what's bothering you? You know, and also ask yourself, were you so in love with the image of the person before?
Yeah.
People do evolve and change. And, most people can look, fantastic 40, 50, 60, but they're probably heavier or wrinklier or something. They're not the same. They're just a kind of evolved different version.
Yeah.
And you are too. So I think, unless you're exceptionally different from where you started off, I think you should also ask yourself about yourself.
Right.
Like, why are you looking at the man or the woman saying, oh my God, I don't like that? Well, what about yourself? But I mean, it does go back to the original question. If you feel what you feel it. And how do you get rid of that feeling?
It's hard. It's like how the kids are saying these days, right?
Yeah.
You get an ick.
Exactly.
Right? You have an ick about someone and you can't see past that.
Yes.
And now what are you going to do? But you're married to this person.
Yeah.
And you're just going to stop loving them because they have a little tummy now? Like, that's not why you fell in love with them, hopefully. It's because they are amazing body. But obviously, like, I think the weight one is the hardest for some reason, especially for women. Like, how do you tell a woman to get skinnier, right? Like, because it's like...
There's no nice way of doing it.
It's really tough.
And there are levels of it, obviously, because, there's a huge difference between being 10, 20 pounds heavier and being 56, like looking like a completely different person.
Yeah.
And the only thing my husband during COVID lost 60 pounds, 65 pounds. So he looks drastically different. But during I say it was 10 years of gaining the weight because he gave up smoking.
Right.
Very, very stressful job, traveling a lot. And, he says I use that as an excuse, but whatever. And he gained a huge amount of weight. But at no point, I never, ever said anything to him about his weight, about his appearance.
Right.
Because I can honestly tell you, it didn't bother me because I love him. I love his personality. Obviously
Just more to love.
Exactly, more to love. That's what he said to me when he got skinny. There's less of me to love now. But he I don't know. I mean, I obviously was just more worried about the health aspects.
Well, exactly.
Than the
and I think
weight aspects.
I think when you're coming, like, if you do want to have this conversation with your partner, I think there's 3 steps before you get serious about it, right?
Yes.
There's like the first where you're like, where you're talking about yourself with them. Even if you haven't gained weight, maybe you're like, hey, I really want to try this new health thing.
Yes.
Let's do it together. Let's keep each other accountable. Let's start going to the gym together. Like, if you start doing things together, it feels a lot less scary than just like having her be accountable for herself and for you. It's like a lot. It's a lot of pressure to put on someone, like, all of a sudden.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, if she's really not putting in the effort, I don't know what the second step is, but I just don't think there's enough, like, you can't be like, hey, you're fat, I don't love you anymore. Like that.
Oh my God, no.
That is not what you should be saying to your wife ever.
No, and I think for
partner.
Absolutely, I mean, that's the death knell. I mean, forget it.
Right.
You
can't come back from that.
Never.
So
come
if you
back
want a
from that.
divorce, for sure say that. For
Exactly.
sure. Go ahead.
You can never come back from that. And I know so many men who said to their wives some variation of, like, you're fat.
Oh my God.
And you're like, it's never quite the same again.
It's never going to be the same again.
You just can't say it because it's so cruel and it's mean. And the reason it is mean, because I know it's crazy. Like, men will say to other men, oh, you've gained weight or whatever. Like, men will say it. Men can take physical comments very well.
Well, exactly.
Like
that's why we can be more upfront about it.
They'll meet up and say, you got a bit of a belly, or they'll say it to each other with no qualms.
Right.
And they'll be quite direct and quite harsh. Women, you cannot do that.
No.
What's the classic? What women do, they say, you look well. And when somebody says you look well, you look thin.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. I was like, this is an English thing.
Yeah. You look well, or you look healthy, or you look there's something else behind that.
Right.
I mean, you just know. Or there's like hidden, I can think of certain people in my family who are very obsessed with weight, and they'll say something when they meet you that they'll say, you look good, you look well, you look good, or they'll say the opposite if they think they look fat, but they won't actually say you look fat. They'll just say,
got a little plumper on the edges.
Yeah, well, they'll never say that. Wow. I remember one relative once saying to Max, you look very prosperous, which she basically meant you look fat. And
wow.
FYI, we know what that means.
Right.
I was telling you earlier, my grandmother said to me when I was about 15 that I look like a Christmas pudding. And Christmas puddings in England are these big round balls.
It's just a horrible thing to say to a teenager.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, at that time, I was not fat at all. And it was just like, and I have never forgotten it.
Of course not.
It is in my brain for the rest of eternity.
So you're developing years.
Yeah, but it's in my brain for all eternity.
It's horrible.
So I can never look at myself, and that, and I always have that in my head, and that might sound completely ridiculous.
Well, this is where eating disorders come from.
Yeah, and unhinged, and miraculously, I didn't have one. But I mean, that's the problem saying this. If you say this to a woman, if you say anything to a woman, and again, I'm generalizing here, everybody, before the comments start. But generally, if you say something, she will remember that till the day she dies.
Men do not realize we remember everything.
I remember every nasty
thing
my husband has ever said to me. It's in there.
Yeah.
And there aren't a lot, but they're in there.
Yeah.
And of course, being a woman, every time we have an argument, I have to bring it up again.
Of course.
Thanks so much for listening. Please rate and review this podcast and follow us on social at Sharing My Truth Pod, and leave us a voicemail on our website, sharingmytruth.com, to share your stories and experiences with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.